Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gannibal, Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're kind of picking up in the aftermath of last episode, and Mutsuo takes Daigo as well as the other cops to where Mr. Kano's body is. And obviously Daigo's kind of like, right, the person who attacked me was the person they referred to as that man. And now this episode ends up putting into question a lot of that stuff, because even last episode I was like, right, Mutsuo made it seem like he was the one that killed Mr. Kano, but it's like, well, we know the person that attacked Daigo with the sickle was that man. So it's like, is Mutsuo covering for him as well? Because that's even Daigo's thought. It's like, right, they're covering, he's taking the fall for this, making this sacrifice so the rest of the Goto family doesn't go down for it. But the way they act towards him, kind of like he's dead to them, I don't know whether it's because they're like, you're dead to us because you and some of our other family went after him, you're dead to us, you should have fallen in line. And it's like, yes, you want to like get some of the heat off of us by taking the fall now, but that doesn't mean anything. You still shouldn't have gone rogue, because Kisuke told him multiple times just to kind of let things go. I mean, even went above and beyond to try and look after Yuki and Mashiro for him. So, for Daigo, so... But even the chief or whatever, or lieutenant, whatever he is telling Daigo, yeah, like, once again, leave the Gotos alone. Even later on, offer him, like, hey, there's a new position that's open, and was it Yada Village? It's like, yeah, you should go there, because the cop that's, the officer there, he's retiring, so Daigo wants to think about it. And especially because he had just had the call with, Sumari and told her the news about her father. It's like, I thought he'd be alive, but I'm sorry. Like, he was gone all this time, and I gave you hope that he might still be alive. So, when it's all said and done, I think that in conjunction with, like, for the first time in a long time, he saw Mashiro smile last episode, and he wanted to keep that up. So it's like, right, he talks to Yuki, and it's like, right, I got this job offer, so what are we going to do? It's like, well, let's talk to Mashiro. And she, looking at her notebook and the friends she's made, she's like, right, because like her friends used it as kind of a means of like talking to her, communicating with her, and it's like, right, she wants to stay, and they're happy about that. So we do see, we kind of cut to some time later, Daigo is trying to make the best of living in the village. Obviously, like, Kisuke drives right by him, they don't look at each other, they don't say anything to each other, they just kind of keep going their own ways. And it seems like they're trying to make the best of this situation, and once again trying to, like, Daigo's trying to leave all that behind, anything related to the Goto family and all that. And so he's hanging out with Mashiro and Yuki, and they're hanging out with the rest of the village, and they're celebrating. And Mr. Sabu comes over, and he's like, right, I'm sorry. Like, eventually the Goto family gets brought up, because it's like, right, there's not a lot of young people in the village. So it's like, right, it's mainly like elderly people that have been there for a hot minute. And maybe that's a little indicative of something, we'll get to that soon enough. But Mr. Sabu kind of leads this apology, being like, right, Mr. Kano, we rely on the Goto family because forestry is what keeps this it's part of this village's economy, and without it, we wouldn't survive. That's why we've been able to continue and prosper like we have. So we don't want to push our luck when it comes to the Goto. So when Mr. Kano came to us about any concerns and stuff, we ignored him, and so we're just as responsible. But Daigo's like, right, you had nothing to do with that. No one in this village is to blame. And Mr. Sabo's like, oh, thank you. Mashiro comes over to kind of wipe some of his tears away. So it's like, hey, everything works out. Everything's good. And even Daigo and Yuki are in a better place, because they're both saying, like, right, I couldn't have coped with this situation. After what happened to Mashiro, I couldn't have coped without you. It's like, well, thank you for not abandoning me and being my savior. And they're about to get a little nookie action going on when someone's watching them, and it's one of the Gotos. And obviously, specifically the one that's always by Kisuke's side. But then it's also interesting too that Mr. Sabo just happens to pass by. It's like, oh my god, like, don't worry, me and us in the village, we all know about your circumstances, but still this is kind of a big no-no. And I was like, that's interesting. Well, and then I made sure to keep that in the back of my mind. And then he goes and tries to confront the guy, and he went to the Goto family's, like, forestry, or where they were where they drop off the lumber and stuff. And he finds the guy, but the guy's already beaten up because Kisuke's like, yeah, he was bragging about it. He didn't write, and at first when he was like, oh, I didn't write that murder, like the message murderer on your door, I was like, I mean, on your wall of your home, and I was like, then why did he beat you up? Then I was like, oh, right, he was watching Yuki and Daigo about to have sex, so it's like that's probably what he was bragging about, so that's probably what Kisuke and them like beat him up for being a pervert. So it's like, okay, but he's like, yeah, I didn't do that. And Kisuke's like, right, you shouldn't be so trusting of that place. And it's interesting how that's kind of like intercut with Sumire going to visit her mom. Because I guess she was probably thinking about, I'm sure finding out about her dad made her go like, right, she probably wanted to talk to her mom about it. But it's like, well, her mom's not in a good mental space. And that news would probably send her even further over the edge. And so... And her mom sadly doesn't recognize her. And she's like, right, is your father? Oh, right, your father is missing. And then she's running around saying, run away. And you're like, right. Because Daigo at one point in time had looked at the wall where that message was like carved into. And it's covered up now because they're trying to leave that all behind them. But later on we see, like, I think another message. So there might be another one written in a house. I don't think it was the same one because wherever it was, it looked like it was on like the... wood framing of the house, but it looked like it was higher up on the wall. The one in particular they noticed was lower, like at the very bottom of the wall. So I don't know if that was the same one, or in retrospect I don't remember, but I could have sworn it was like higher on the wall, so I feel like it was another one. So now the question is, was she the one that wrote the message run away, or is it because that message was already there and she didn't really pay as much of attention to it now, and because of that, like, that's burned into her memory and that's all she can think is run away, run away, run away, run away. So, and then all of a sudden you start seeing like all the creepy looks from the villagers as they're kind of looking towards like Daigo and Yuki's home. And even seeing the mayor, he's listening in, like he's got their house, like either he's got the house bugged, which I did think it was kind of weird where when he came out, like what it seemed like he was coming out the bathroom. I was like something about like when he was there and he was just like, oh, like this is after the whole message thing or murderer was written on the wall. I guess that was their excuse, his excuse to kind of welcome himself in the home, to plant the bugs maybe. So I was like, I can only assume. Because Daigo later on, when when Kisuke had given warning, like, right, don't be so trusting of everyone in that village. And then as they were leaving, he saw the people from Kuge village, like, bowing down to him, and he notices the red pan was like, it's them. They're the ones the people from the village are the ones, because they expressly made a point that the people from Goto are not part of the Kuge village, so... He went to go put up a barricade, and lo and behold, who just happens to show up at the time, Mr. Sabu being like, oh, you shouldn't do that. He's like, that goes like, wait, what? I mean, I want a little extra security. He's like, no, I understand, but it's like, you shouldn't do that because it's going to make the village think you don't trust them. It's like, but other people have it. Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Those were already up. You're new here. It's like, yeah, it's like, because it makes it harder for us to spy on you. And Daigo, like, uttered under his breath. He just said, what a pain, but I guess it's a lot more... It's probably one of those things that translates weird. Because even later on, someone's like, oh, you called him a pain in the ass. It's like, no, all he said was like, oh, this is a pain. Like, I think, once again, it's like Japanese language. I mean, I think it applies to a lot of Asian languages. And I didn't know like other languages have like honorifics and stuff like outside of like just the Asian, because like the way you refer to someone, like, you know, just, it's so interesting how like some things don't always like you can't really fully translate it. But he was like, all he said was like, oh, maybe he was like, what a pain, so annoying. But like someone else was like, oh, you called Mr. Sabu a pain in the ass. It's like, no, I didn't. I just said like, oh, what a pain. But it's like, maybe with his tone and like the way he said it in Japanese, it kind of translates more to like a more aggressive version of annoying, or, you know, so maybe. And Mr. Sabu was like, what'd you say to me? And it's just like, okay, yeah, let's kind of forget about that. And then the moment, like, Daigo's later on walking throughout the village and riding his bike, everyone's whispering to him, like, oh, we heard you got into a fight with him, and you shouldn't fight. It's like, what? Fighting's not good. And you're like, okay, this is weird. It's like, cool. You were, oh man, they loved you and they welcomed you. And now that you got beef with Mr. Sabu, it's like, no, you got beef with all of us. And it's like, even when the guys rolled up, it's like, yo, apparently you grabbed him, called him a geezer. He's like, no, I didn't. It's like, oh, Mr. Sabu has a way of exaggerating. Ha 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 ha. But you did call him a pain in the ass, didn't you? It's like, you should go apologize because fighting's not good, you know? It's like, kind of get the whole village kind of turned against you in that way. Ha 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 ha. And, when he went home, Yuki's like, yeah, we're going to go to Mr. Sabu and apologize. Daigo's like, what? He's like, yeah, people, and like, she's like, I've never been chastised that much in such a short amount of time of people being like, oh, you need to apologize. You need to apologize. You need to apologize. And she wanted to do it, but Daigo's like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I just said so. But then Mr. Sabu shows up and Daigo's like, do you have this, are you spying on us or something? And he was like, do you really want to say that right now? And Daigo's like, for Mashiro's sake, because this place means so much to her, I'm sorry. And he's like, okay, it's all forgiven. It's all forgiven. Because he's like, yeah, we all lose our temper from time to time. It's like, well, we know he is spying on a place. He has that place bugged. You know? And then they show up at kind of that festival thing. And it's like, oh, hey. Oh, Daigo, we heard that you and your wife had it. Oh, it came down to fisticuffs. Like you and your wife are fighting pretty bad. It's like, oh, it wasn't that bad. We also heard you apologize to the mayor. It's like, oh, that's good. That's good. Mr. Sabu isn't the mayor, is he? I'm forgetting if he isn't. Because I know, because like, he's definitely not the mayor, because I was about to say, because the mayor is part of the Goto family, because that's Kisuke's dad, but it's like Mr. Sabu is someone, different. Because I kind of keep, like, blurring the lines between, I don't remember, that's my problem, because there was a couple weeks in between me watching episode 3 and this one, so, like, there's been more and more time in between, so I'm forgetting whether or not because I was like, right, the way he talks about the Goto, it's like, but like Kisuke, unless that's still it, I don't know. Do correct me in the comments down below. Like I said, I just don't remember, because I was like, I thought the mayor of the village was Kisuke and them's dad, but it's like, maybe he's like the mayor of the Goto family and stuff like that, their property. He's kind of like the mayor of them, but not Kuge Village is its own thing. But Mr. Sabu's the one that's kind of in charge and stuff. He also got in contact with it because he kept focusing on the number that, the satellite number, because he was like, right, Sumiri was like, yeah, I called it and never got an answer. And this time Daigo tried it. What I thought was interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, the fact of the matter is it was in English. I was like, that's weird. Why is that in English? At first I was like, well, I guess because it could be that the person is, rerouting the number and bouncing it all over the place. So maybe it's rerouted to specifically be like US based. So maybe that's why it responded that way. But maybe it just naturally does that. Like, I don't know if like, cause I don't know how like internationally English is. That's it just, I don't know. Cause I was like, not less like internationally English is a language enough people know that I don't know, like I'm reading too much into it, but like it being in English, I was like, that was weird. Why wasn't it in Japanese? I was like, that's interesting. Like I said, it could just be like the number was, as a satellite phone, it was being rerouted. Maybe it's specifically because you're using like maybe a US specific satellite to make the use as a satellite phone. I don't know. But either way, while they were at the celebration or whatever, he gets a call from the guy, and he's like, right, the guy said something interesting where he was basically like, yes, Mr. Kano called me, but I'm not the one who answered the call or something like that. So I'm like, I guess implying someone else intercepted the call, because maybe it wasn't just the house that's bugged. I wonder, did they remove all the bugs after everything with Mr. Kano, and then they had to reinstall them now that it's like, they're officially going to be staying here, so we're gonna make them part of, it's like, is the rest of the village bugged, or is it just specifically them because they're new people? Once again, the whole conversation of, yeah, it's interesting how like most of this village are older people. There's not too many young people, once again, with the exception of like the Goto family, so maybe there's something there. Either way, Daigo goes to meet with the guy, and the guy's like, right, the reason why Mr. Kano died was because he talked to me. And this guy's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be alive. I'm not supposed to be out and about because I'm in proof of what's going on. And I was like, the way he was talking, I was like, oh, he sounds a little. Cause I was thinking like, especially because at one point, like in his room when he's talking to Daigo, like over the satellite phone first, like that, like there was a picture of a jaw, a bottom jaw, kind of being drawn like from a top view. I was like, and the way he talks, I was like, is this part of his bottom jaw missing or something? The way he sounded. Turns out it's not that. It's part of his face. Like his nose is gone. Part of his like face is full blown jokered, where it looks like gashed and cut, and his eyes gone. Like basically, he has like a prosthetic like skin colored mask like put on right there to kind of cover up for it. But it's like because I was like, it's not until you got closer to look at his face, I was like, part of his face is fake, isn't it? And then I didn't know how much he was going to end up removing, but it's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, this is proof that someone from Kuge Village, specifically Kuge Village, ate me. He's like, yeah, Kano wasn't murdered, he was cannibalized. So now the question then becomes like, okay, so it's not the Gotos that are the cannibals, it's... Well, we know he went to the... Well, we know that he went to the Gotos, so it's like, it's hard to say what to believe now, because it's like, right, he specifically says someone from Kuge Village ate me. So it's like, then why did Kano go, like, charging after, the Goto family, if that's the case? Like, maybe they killed Kano because to keep the equilibrium with Kuge Village. It's like the Kuge, like Mr. Sabu was like, yeah, you gotta do this for us. Like, he's gonna come after you, like, maybe... They wanted him to seem like he was a raving lunatic, so sent him towards the Gotos, and then Mr. Sabu was like, also take care of him too. Like, record him, make him seem crazy, and that way it seems like, oh, he just had a breakdown, and he abandoned everything, his job, his life, and everything. But yeah, take care of him for us, because it's like, so it seems like, right, the village seemed like they were kind of in fear of the Goto family, maybe the Goto family is more so in fear of them. I don't know, because there's also, once again, there's also that man. Is he kind of like, is he the reason why the Kuge Village doesn't really mess with them too much? Is that kind of their equilibrium? To be like, all right, you could do what you want to, we kind of have to adhere to you. Because I wonder, does that man actually belong to, well, because it seems like he's part of the Goto family, but I don't know. I was like, maybe he has more of a connection to Kuge Village. Still so many pieces to this we don't really know or fully understand, so I'm very interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode, understanding, like, getting a better understanding of what's really going on and what Daigo's going to do with this new information, and also seeing, like, oh, the village isn't the place I thought it was. I had beef with the Gotos, but it's like, maybe they're not the ones deserving of my beef. I don't know. We'll ultimately, like I said, have to wait and see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.